What is up, humans of the cardboard? Welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today we're doing a little deck build video. It's really cool. Kind of doing it on the fly here because I want to just see what we can look for, if we can find anything spicy here. I thought reptiles are cool for the last little bit, but they've slowly, Konami is pretty adamant on giving them slow and steady support. We've gone from a new archetype in Ogdoadics to alien support to Reptilianne support, and now to just generic new cards. Now these aren't on dueling book yet. They'll probably be put up in the next couple of days, I would think, but whatever. For here we have like this guy, Black Mamba. If you control a reptile, he can summon himself from hand. Really nice. And if he's normal or special summoned, you can target a monster your opponent controls, change its battle position, and then foolish burial any reptile straight from the deck. And one sec. And then you of course have Lamia. This is the other most interesting card here. I think the trap's probably a little bit too slow, and this card's probably not good enough an extender. But Lamia just says when it's normal summon, you can add a level 8 reptile from deck to hand. That's not terrible. It's just a +1, and the deck needs a lot of discards, so just getting free discards is even worth, and it's a level 4, so it works for helping you get into those rank 4 plays. So at the end of the day, we're looking at something pretty decent. So we're going to be skimming through all the reptile stuff today, seeing what might work best for a potential reptile build, and then leaving the rest to you guys in the comments, seeing what you guys might think there. Let's move my face over here because that'll be a little bit easier as far as seeing what we're looking up in the search bar here. So let's get started here. I already have reptiles up. We're going to skim through here. One alert, of course. Might as well start with the Ogdoadic stuff. Let's do that. Okay, one alert. These ones are interesting because I'm not fully sold on them yet. So you have Amnesia, you have Aran, Flogos, I don't really think is that great. And then you always play one curse, one alert. That's kind of always been the situation. And then of course you play triple Nunu, triple Nalia, and probably Ogdo Abyss, and then even Zoha. So we want to, let's just wiggle these around a little bit, just to make this make a little more sense. Boop, boop, boop. Yeah, so Nalia and Nunu are probably the best starters in the deck, and Nalia becomes a lot better just because we're getting the new Ogdoadic spell. I think the continuous spell, that card is really, really, really nice for the deck. So yeah, let's see what else we got here. Let's go back to the generic. Oh, let's go back to, hello, can I help you? There we go. All right. Getting back to the generic reptile stuff, I really don't think aliens have much hope unless you're just playing a really small package of like just like the cards to abuse the link 3, and we'll get to him when we get to him. Still skimming down here, nothing on this page. Moving along, Tsuchinoko is interesting, definitely. Tsuchinoko is definitely an interesting extender. The only problem is sometimes you may have cards that you actually like in hand. Also, I normally wouldn't think Evil Dragon and Nanta is that great, but the new card search is any level 8, and this card's actually level 8, and it's a pretty easy to jump on the board extender. I wonder if it becomes worth it, although probably not, because it doesn't say banish however many you want from hand or field. It says you have to banish all of them from hand or field. That's kind of brutal. We really don't like that too much, so I think he probably misses the mark. Hyperion is another interesting one. It's just a reptile. I mean, the deck really doesn't have an in-theme normal summon. Like, Reptilians don't really seem to have a really great normal summon. Same thing with aliens and Ogdoadic. So Hyperion just could be a normal summon, draw one, and then it becomes tribute fodder for your plays, which is not the worst thing in the world. Kage Tokage is another level 4 interesting kind of extender. Light Serpent, if it's sent from hand to grave, is an extender, and now more than ever we have more cards that help us send stuff from our hand to the graveyard. We also have Night Sword Serpent. I actually quite like this card a lot. I don't know if he's a 1 of or a 2 of, because we can just search him off of the guy, our rank 4 guy, but still pretty cool. If he's just sent to the graveyard by card effect, he summons himself back to the field but banishes himself when he leaves the field. That doesn't seem to be a huge problem because we can just make a rank 4 with him generally, so he will end up back in grave, which is kind of cool. Moving on though, still looking at this. Reptilianne Quaddle is interesting as well. This card says if you control a dark reptile, you can summon it from the hand. The only problem is like only half of the Ogdoadics are dark, the other half are light. So this card's not the most consistent extender, but it is still an interesting card nonetheless. I think it's definitely a card to consider. It's a level 4 extender. What is it? Is it only say for a Reptilianne? Let's see. If this card is used for a synchro summon of a reptile monster, it could be treated as a non-tuner as well. So if you already had a tuner, this could be the other piece. That's interesting. I'm not sure if it's quite good enough, though, of course. And the only problem with the Reptilianne stuff is there really doesn't seem to be like the biggest payoff. Like they have like the searching spell, which searches 2 Reptilianne cards by like discarding a card or sending a monster from like hand or field to grave. But I don't think that card by itself sets up an interruption, and that's my biggest problem with it. Even if it was just a 1 interruption thing, but it was like, oh, okay, that's a decent interruption, I would actually really think the card was interesting, but I don't think it sets up an interruption on its own, or at least not a legitimately powerful interruption. And so I'm not sure I really want to include the card, even, or like Reptilianne stuff in general, just because of that. Also, Yowie's horrible. Don't play Yowie. I do think Yamamori is interesting. Yamori Mori. You can banish him from your graveyard to target a reptile you control and a monster your opponent controls, and flip both of them face down. Or you could potentially pop the monster you control to change the attack of the other monster to 0. So it does have some Reptilianne synergy with the 0 attack stuff, but mainly it's a flip down. If this was a quick effect, this would be so much. Oh my gosh, man. If I could just freely send him as part of my like Snake Rain play, which by the way, we might as well search up Snake Rain here while we're chilling. There are 3 of that in there. It's obviously like the best card in the deck. Let's search up other Ogdoadic cards too for the spells and traps. Water Lily right now is a 3 of, but I think that might go down to a 2 of when we get this card. This card's so good. Real quick, let's go over this card. So you can send any monster from your hand or field to the graveyard, then target a reptile monster with a different original attribute in your grave. Special summon it back to the field. So all you have to do is be sending something with a different attribute to get a reborn. And this is continuous. You can just do this every turn. During the main phase also, if a monster is sent to your opponent's graveyard, that is just generically sent to their graveyard however way, you can send a reptile monster from your deck to the grave. Now usually they don't trigger too much, except for like Night Sword Serpent, which could be clutch. I mean, if you're playing, what is it, that one trap card that like pops a reptile you control and 2 cards your opponent controls, if your opponent had already like wiped your board, you could use this card to like send Night Sword, and then he revives himself, and then you would be making your trap live on the opponent's turn. That's something interesting. Also, this card, even like on turn 1, you could activate this before you even want to use this effect to revive something, and if your opponent hand traps you with a monster, that counts as them sending a monster to their graveyard, and then you just get an extra Foolish Burial off of this card. This card is so good, in my opinion. It might just be a 3 of because you just like want it. You just like always fucking want it. Whereas Water Lily, a lot of the time, if you didn't already open Snake Rain, just felt like kind of underwhelming. So I kind of want to drop Water Lily to 2, just because it feels like okay unless you were already able to set up everything you wanted. But it's still a grindy card. It's still a good card to get once you've gotten everything set up. So I still like it, but Flood just feels like so good because even if you can't do a ton, as long as you can just like send Ogdo Abyss and revive him off of this, like you're still like in a decent position. Which obviously, what's not to like about that? So really like that card. I think this card is so cool. This card allows the deck to be a potential like grindy deck where just like every turn you're just like Ogdo Abyss, Ogdo Abyss, Ogdo Abyss, and just keep setting them up so that you can keep getting that board wipe live on field. And this card of course makes the other Ogdo Abyss boss monsters a little more interesting as well, just because they don't have to use their Tribute 2 effect all the time to get on field. They're a little easier to get out than they were before. So that's another thing to throw out there. But yeah, let's see. I also think Hollow is kind of interesting. You can tribute a reptile to target a monster in your opponent's grave and summon it to your field, but send it to the graveyard during the end phase. It is just technically graveyard disruption. You just keep stealing monsters out of your opponent's grave turn after turn. It's fine. I don't think it's that great. I really hope that, like, listen, we've still been getting reptile support. I hope if Konami's just going to give Ogdoadics like one more card, give them a legit, decently strong, like, trap card. That's it. Like, that's all I want to see, is like a legit, like, it's decently powerful interruption, or maybe it's a searchable, like, Call of the Haunted. That's all you need, because if you can just get Ogdo Abyss or one of the other two boss monsters in the grave, you just reborn on the opponent's turn, and that's what I'm looking for. It's just some way to set up Ogdoadics just feel like they don't set up enough by themselves, and like a trap would feel like even their basic plays still can at least get you like a little decent interruption via a good trap card. Okay, but other than that, we need to probably just go through. Oh, whoops, that's not what I want. There are a couple like generic reptile support cards. Alien Shock Trooper Enfrim's probably a one of in the extra deck. It's 1900 attack and it floats, plus it gives us the ability to like discard and do spicy things. Should probably consider Cosmic Slicer Zerol if we're going to be looking at the Alien engine as well. So of course the Stealth Buster is there. Embodiment of Apophis is a way to summon a level 4 reptile on the opponent's turn. I don't know how good that is, unless we got like more support that like gave us really powerful effects if we can like the trigger when we summon a reptile, so we could potentially do it on the opponent's turn. Otherwise, this card's just like cool, I guess. I remember when that card was played in the Battle City tournament. King of Feral Imps, this card is probably a 2 of. This card's so good. You make this card so easily in the deck, and then you can just search any reptile. I know a lot of the reptiles aren't the greatest thing in the hand, but with a lot of the extenders we're getting access to now, we can actually make this without even needing to go through both Nalia and Nunu. So if we only opened one and we're able to make this, we could search the other and then get the other to set up like Ogdo Abyss engrave, which is nice. Moving on. Offering of the Snake Deity. I like this card a lot. Now, if we're going for a more control build, this card becomes a lot more interesting, right? Because you just need a reptile on field and you can pop 2 cards. And you have so much graveyard synergy. This would be sending it to grave by card effect. So if you just like normal the Serpent and you send it this way, you would revive himself immediately, which is pretty cool. Just saving your bodies on field. Plus, like if you have Nunu or Nalia, they both also can give you value in grave, which is awesome. There's a lot of good reasons this card could be interesting in the deck for sure. Origin is not great. If Origin was great, we'd be in a much better position. I also think Reptilianne Echidna is really cool. That's potentially a 2 of. In grindier matches, like making this card feels really good. It either baits in a gate, or it's going to just get you like a search while also clearing at least 1 monster. It's really good. It feels pretty powerful. Melusine, if you can go the Reptilianne route and it feels worth, you can go that way. Also, the field spell for them is also pretty decent because it says, let's see. If your opponent activates a monster effect, you can target 1 monster your opponent controls with 0 attack, take control of it, then special summon a Reptilianne token to their field. So they get a token, but you get to steal their monster as long as it had 0 attack. Or as long as they controlled a monster with 0 attack. Which is not the worst thing in the world. It's kind of annoying for them, and it's just turn after turn. Every time they want to activate a monster effect, if they have anything that's 0, you can steal it. So this is not the worst thing in the world. You would just need like a quick effect way to make something 0. And I guess it could be okay. I think it's potentially splashable if you're going to play Ramifications, because you could just play like, like Reptilianne Spawn is interesting as a searchable card that just gets you like link material. Yeah, it is kind of interesting. So like the Reptilianne Ramifications card searches you just 2 Reptilianne cards straight from the deck. So you could potentially search this and like, or is this the new one? This one's like kind of like the hand trap one. So during, as a quick effect, as long as you have a reptile in grave, you can quick effect send this from hand to grave to make a monster your opponent controls 0 attack. which then means like on resolution, I believe, that would give you the ability to use the field spell. So if you use ramifications, you could just search one Niemi and one recoil and technically have that steal effect live. The problem is the steal effect is still kind of like meh. They get to resolve their effect. You just take their monster and they still get a body in return. So I feel like even overall as an interruption, it's like kind of mediocre, which obviously we don't love. But just something to keep in mind. Definitely something worth noting, I would say. Moving on, snake whistles, just horrible. It's a trigger effect. If I could just activate it and summon a reptile from deck, like then we'd be cooking. But we cannot do that. Bunch of worm stuff, poop, and yeah, and the Mori that I put him down here. Should have, yeah, cool. All right. So that's kind of where we end up as far as most of this stuff goes. Of course, we would have, don't even forget about Lamia and this guy, Black Mom, because I guarantee you they would like find a way into the deck just because they are just generically good extenders, even if they're just helping us kind of link climb from there. But I look at stuff like Gamma. I think Gamma's honestly pretty insane in this deck, just because if you look at like our starters, we've got like triple Snake Rain. Everybody's hand trapping that if they can. Also, there are other engines. So this is if we're keeping it pure reptile, but even if we're not, and we go into a route where we're looking at stuff like Chaos Space, right? Because you want to play the Baby Dragon engine. Because you want Wyver Burster and Collapse Serpent because they really do help you extend through stuff. Oh, what did I do? There we go. Wyver Burster. A lot of people will Ash Chaos Space if they can. And so just having stuff for those is like really good. Or they'll like chain like Lancia to this and that makes your Gamma live as well. So it's really easy. Also, a lot of your Ogdoadic engine, what's really cool is you'll go. So what's the basic combo? The basic combo I think is like you'll send a Curse, and then when you use Curse, you're going to tribute a reptile on your field, and that gives you, and your opponent, even if they want to negate that, whether it's Bell, whether it's DD Crow, whether it's whatever, you've tributed for cost, so now you don't have a monster in grave, or a monster on field, so now Gamma's live to negate, and like just kind of like get you extra bodies while also negating your opponent's shiz, which is pretty damn cool. So there's a lot of different routes we can go with this. I know Lair of Darkness has been looked at as one of the potential better builds for the deck. I know stuff like what is it? Lair of Darkness. Invoked has been played there. And I want to say Light Sworn. No, I think I was thinking of Chaos, the Chaos stuff here. But it's not really a Chaos build. It's literally just Chaos Space with the white and black dragon. That's pretty much it. But there's a lot of cool stuff. I don't think the new support really really pushes us towards like tributing more. So I don't think the layer build is quite worth it. Oh, there was also an Orcus builds that were actually like pretty popular for a little bit. Well, popular when they first came out. I think Tsuchinoko is probably not worth playing at the end of the day. Oh, what is that? That card's Planet Pollutant Virus. Yeah, so if you are looking at the alien stuff, it's literally like you probably just play an Alien Buster, a Planet Pollutant Virus, and you just play the Zerol in the extra. Other than that, like this is all the reptile stuff you really need in your extra, and I don't even think you need Zerol. You could probably let's see, you probably can't afford to play Anantas. If you put him there, these are the ones you probably need in some capacity. Maybe they're all 2-ofs, maybe just King of the Feral Imps and Echidna are 2-ofs, and maybe this guy's just a 1-of, but whatever. You probably need to play these, and then you can play some generic rank 4s, some rank 8s, because you just want to reborn your Curse and your Alert, and then you just have 2 level 8s on the field, so you do have access to just like a free rank 8 there. And then you want to like probably finish your turn by going Flood, Reborn, Ogdo, Abyss. Boom. And you're in business. So I don't know. There's still, oh, man. I mean, the deck is still cool. I still want to mess around with it. I just think you don't have to worry as much anymore about like the super high ceiling plays, because you can try to go for some crazy plays. And even if it gets stopped, most hands would hopefully be able to just like dump Ogdo Abyss, flood him back. And now you at least have a Raigeki on the opponent's turn, which is always pretty good. I don't know. There's a lot going on. It's a really cool deck. I don't, man. Mori Mori. We don't play enough field spells to make Golgolganda really worth it. Coatl is still interesting though, because it is just a level 4 extender like that. Decent card. This is like the best discard in your deck, no matter what you're doing it for, whether it's Flood, whether it's Chaos Space, whether it's Snake Rain. This card is the best discard in the deck, so that's interesting. But again, it's level 3. If it was level 4, it'd be perfect. Kage Tokage, actually pretty decent. Then Aperia, just drawing you cards is fine. Flogos is just bad. Zoha, so I'm gonna take him out. And I think that's where we end up. I think like you'd have a couple copies of the new cards. You probably play 3 Lamia because it seems to be the only legit good normal summon in the deck. It's the only +1 normal summon. It just gets you like the best discard you can find, pretty much. What are we even playing for level 8 targets at that? That's actually kind of important. I think we're just playing Alert and Curse, which is not great because it means if we have Snake Rain, we're always dumping both of those. Interesting. But I guess you could lead with Lamia. Grab one first and then discard it as cost for Snake Rain, and then it makes it so that your opponent knows you already have like something coming or something in the graveyard, which is not the worst thing in the world. Really interesting. There's a lot of stuff to look at here, guys, and you know what? Konami seems to not be slowing down with the Reptile support, so we'll have to keep an eye out. I'm sure we'll get more stuff, but I still think this could be the workings of like a pretty cool control deck in and of itself. It grinds really well. Once you get that graveyard filled up, it could feel like Orcust, where just every turn is like restocking its field, resetting up interruptions and stuff, and there's something to be said for that. We'll have to see if it actually turns out into something worth paying attention to, but I really like it. Hopefully this was interesting, at least to see where my mind is on where all this reptile stuff is going, but I do think reptiles could be something interesting in the future. They're not quite there yet, but maybe when Flood comes out, we'll be in a better position, and these other obviously new cards from the premium pack as well. We'll just have to keep an eye on it. But yeah, that's going to do it for me today, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And again, really weird video, but just doing like some ideas here, just putting everything together, looking at pretty much everything interesting for the reptile stuff, and seeing what really seems to work the best. But maybe Reptilians are better than I'm giving them credit for. I need to look a little bit more into them just to see if there's any payoff. Aliens just seem so bricky. Like I don't know, it's really tough, but their ceiling is so high. They have such high payoff. Maybe they're worth trying to force in, like just go kablammy and kablammy and kablammy, and we're already looking at something a little more potent in our deck if we can get enough extenders on field. I guess that is one of the ways that the level 3 extenders become a lot more worth, is being able to go up into something like the Cosmic Slicer. There, very interesting though. But that's going to do it for you today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. As always, let me know the thoughts in the comment section down below, and I will see you in the next one. And I guess subscribe if you have not yet. Do it.